I've been there before. You're training 4 to 5 times a week. You're trying to hit your protein goal. You're trying to figure out what to actually do. You're balancing work. You got all these things going on, but no matter what you do, you still feel like you're at a wall. And that was me. Not for 1 year, not for 2 years, not for 3 years, but for 4 years. I broke past that, and within 8 weeks, I managed to get in the best shape of my life. The following year, I placed second at a national bodybuilding show at the age of 20. Following the year after that, I did the exact same thing. We followed up short, but 20 and 21, second at a national level, we'll take it. Not only in my own journey, but I've worked with over 500 men one-to-one to achieve their dream physique. So being on both sides of the fence, and now being able to see both sides of the fence, I feel like I've got some confidence to talk about what you can actually do to get over to the other side. So the approach we use with all of our clients is called the PBR method. It stands for prime, build, and reveal. Starting off with the priming phase, which is the most overlooked phase. No one looks at this phase, they go straight into the build or they go straight into the reveal. And it lets them down, because essentially what the priming phase is it builds a foundation. Where a lot of people go wrong is they don't build the foundation, they get the building fairly high, but what happens when wind comes by? A snowstorm hits. 6 months in, you've already committed all this time, energy. Building comes smashing down, you've now lost all your confidence, you're feeling disappointed, and you're probably watching this video going, surely this can help. But what are we actually doing in the priming phase? How do we build the foundation? Well, before you go into the priming phase, you need to understand it's not going to be pretty. It's the exact same as the builders laying the foundation for the house. In the cold, with their hivers on, putting all the things in place. No one's walking past that house and going, wow, that looks so beautiful. Cold, miserable, wet, muddy. Yeah, that's just gorgeous. Can't wait to buy that house. No, everyone sees the house and then they admire the house. But that's the importance of the foundation. So if you want to be in shape, not just this summer, but the summer after, and continuing to improve, the first thing you need to look at during your priming phase is your why. Like, why do you actually want to achieve this? And you probably already know why. That's either to look better, potentially impress a girl, just to feel better. Whatever it is, put that in place. From there, what you want to look at is when do you want to achieve that by? Because if you don't have a win, you're essentially just going into the abyss. Having no end goal to work towards is like going into a dark forest with no light at the end. There must be an end date. That can be a holiday, that could be summer, that could be just a random day that you've picked which you want this to happen by. Once you've got your why and once you've got your win, you need to figure out how. This is where you actually have to look in the mirror and one of the most important things and go, okay, what have I done this year so far? So right now it is May. We're coming up to the halfway point of this year over the next couple of months. What is the success within these past 6 months? How confident are you that if you do what you've done previously, that you're going to get a different result? Now, if you're not confident or not sure where to start, I'd focus on these 3 things. The first thing is organization. You have a set time where you go to work and you clock in. It's the exact same with this. You need to set meal prep time, so food shop, a set training time, and a set time that you put your phone down in the evenings to start the wind down process. We now need to get you to that motivation point, and then once you start to do those daily habits, we then move into momentum. And once you're at momentum, it's very hard to stop a ball that's coming down the mountain at 1,000 miles an hour. A priming phase can look from anywhere from 4 to 8 weeks. It's literally just about building that consistency. Once you feel like you can consistently stick with things, you can move on. But there's no point if you can't even consistently stick to your meals, stick to your training, and get your sleep in check, because then you're just going to pay for it 6 months down the line when you've already spent all this time and energy. So don't forget that phase. It's one of the most important phases. Yes, it's not going to be pretty. Yes, no one's walking by going incredible, but do you want to get in shape? Have you got in shape before? Probably not, because you skipped that phase, which isn't your fault, right? But it's so damn important. The next one we go into is the build. So a lot of people want an aesthetic physique, or they want to add, lean muscle, have that lean athletic look, but not a lot of people actually have the muscle it takes in order to make that a reality. And that was me, right? I was 60 kilograms when I first started my fitness journey. There was no way on earth, right? Just a little guy. So after the 6 to 8 week priming phase, body fat will naturally come down because you'll be eating in and around your maintenance calories. Whatever you can stay consistent with, you can potentially pull that down a little bit. And as that vascularity comes through, you can keep pushing as much as you'd like. I wouldn't recommend anywhere past 8 to 12 weeks. The duration for a building phase is dependent on what your goal is and when you want to achieve your goal. I'd personally be looking at anywhere from 12 to 24 weeks. So 3 months to 6 months. That's going to give you enough time to add the tissue ahead of our third phase, which is where we get to see the results for our hard work. During the building phase, I'll be focusing on 2 essential things. The first one is consistency. You have to be consistent with your nutrition. You've probably heard people say that the bulk is oftentimes harder than the cut, and I can see the argument for that. In a dieting phase, or when you're trying to get shredded, if you miss a meal, it's like, so what? But in a building phase, you consistently have to be in that surplus to add that muscle tissue. But you've already got to that phase through your priming, so you can consistently definitely do that. A lot of the focus during the building phase should be in the gym. Yes, 70 to 80% results come from outside of the gym, but it's equal inside the gym. You need to be progressing each week in either weight or reps, especially in your compound. So like your dumbbell incline, your shoulder press, your rows, and even isolation like your pec decks, your bicep curls. It's going to be a little bit harder with those isolations, but in your compounds, you want to be getting in there and training hard. I see far too many men when I look around the gym getting 11, 12, and then they just stop. Like those reps where it's like starts to hurt, those are the ones that count. The first 8 to 10 that you've done aren't for a whole lot. I'll be looking at a rate of gain from anywhere from about 0 to 8% body weight to 1.2% body weight. So for example, if you're like an 80 kilogram guy, I'd be looking at like 8% gain per week. The amount of weight you want to put on in a building phase obviously depends from individual to individual. The goal is not to add weight, it's to build muscle. But I'm looking at anywhere from 10 kilograms to 15 kilograms. So around 25 pounds to 35 pounds, 40 pounds. So now you've gone through a priming phase, you're consistent, you've started to build from that, you've put on 10 to 15 kilograms of muscle. Now we get to see the fruits of your true hard work. Throughout this whole duration, this is going to take anywhere from around 6 to 12 months. So that is a lot better, but you just got to ask yourself, what's the payoff of you trying to do this quick again, 8 to 12 weeks, and falling flat on your face when you get to 4, 5, 6 months and having to restart? Whereas you could get incredible results and just understand the process from a zoomed out version. That's the way to go. Trust me, I've been there. So we've gone through the priming phase, we've gone through the building phase, and now we reveal. So the duration for this depends on how much of a piggy you've been in your building phase. Essentially what we're looking at is anywhere from 12 to 20 weeks. Now, the first half of the dieting phase, the goal is to continue to progress in either weight or reps each week. So I'll be looking at pulling 300 to 500 calories per time through my fats and then my carbs. I would weigh myself fasted every single morning, and on a week basis, on average, I'd be looking at dropping about 1% body weight. So again, if you weigh 80 kilograms, we'd be looking at dropping 800 grams, 900 grams a kilogram. Through the first few weeks, it's fine because you're going to be holding more water naturally. So for that first half of that dieting phase, we're pulling the layers back and we're still progressing in either weight or reps because you've still got carbs and food in the system. Now, the second half of the reveal is where a lot of people fail. As hunger starts to creep in, tiredness, fatigue, maybe start to feel like they're skinny fat because they're in this in-between spot. And this is why, honestly, having a coach is so important. Not just to tell you what you need to improve on, but oftentimes it's actually me telling my guys like, hey, slap yourself out of it, right? And hence why I had a coach, and I still have a coach, right? Because you're going to be your worst critic. You're going to have a bias. You're going to think you look skinny. You're going to think you look fat. You're just going to be all over the shop. But you want to remain to your guns of 1% body weight per week, keeping that fasted weight so you can see the average rate of loss, and tracking photos. In that last 8 weeks, what I'd be looking at is managing stress and managing hunger. So managing hunger, spacing meals out, keeping protein high, gum, brushing my teeth, sugar-free energy drinks, caffeine. I'd be looking at those things. If you even want to lose weight right now and you've gone through the building phase, those are essential. Then I'd looking at managing stress, because if your body's in a state of stress, it's not going to be able to recover and you're going to lose a lot of muscle, which you've worked so hard to put on. So that looks like sleep. Like we touched on in the priming phase, setting the phone down at night, putting the work laptop down, allowing yourself to bring it down for 30 minutes and then getting your 7 to 8 hours from there, because that's when you grow, that's when your body restores literally fucking everything. Mind my French, I am Irish, so it's a pass. It works. And one of the most important parts about actually going into one of these phases is whether you've done your priming, whether you've done your bulk, whether you've done your cut, is your mindset and your anchor to why you're doing this. That's going to then help you on those early mornings or after work when you're absolutely drained. You have to meal prep, you have to come home, you've got all these obligations. Why are you actually doing this? From there, set the date. You understand that the priming phase is important, the building phase where progressive overloading, and then revealing. And if you can have that long-term vision, you know why you want to do it, and you show up consistently and work hard, you will get in the best shape of your life. And I can guarantee that, coming from someone who never thought I'd be able to go from looking like this to looking like this. Even now still, I forget that I used to look like this. If you got to the end of this video, I appreciate you to the moon, right? You're obviously eager in bettering yourself physically and mentally and actually being able to progress. So that says something about you if you've got here. If you like this video, then chances are you'll probably like this one. Guys, peace out, much love.